And I want to say good evening to everyone, and we will start with a short brief, and then we will go to the table. So let's enjoy. Octavia, we will start with you.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I am Octavia Howell. I've been in the cybersecurity industry for about 14 years now. I was one of the ones that didn't break in, like how they say, you pivot in or you break in. I kind of have always been in technology and started out my career in voice over IP and then went to network security and did not realize that I was in cyber until people start saying the word cyber, which is something fairly new, right? Before it was network security or infrastructure security, and then you had the information security people that was completely different than what we did. So, so that's just a little bit about me. I'm actually the founder of an organization called Augustus Redefined, which is trying to help Black women ascend into leadership in cybersecurity.
God bless you.
And so, yeah, it's one of those things where I had a lot of friends who were Black women who were in cybersecurity who no one knew about, and everyone was calling me for everything. Mm-hmm. And so instead of me being in the front face, I said, I have a whole bunch of friends and I have a whole bunch of people that could do the same thing and even better than I can. And I need you to know who they are because we are here and we exist.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. Caitlin, we'll start and we will continue with you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Nice to speak with you wherever you are in the world. I'm sitting in Raleigh, North Carolina today, so it's early afternoon for me. And I got into cybersecurity in 2014 at IBM. I was reorged into security. At the time, I knew nothing about cybersecurity, and so it was a brand new world. But I fell in love with this space, and I haven't looked back. So I ended up getting a master's degree in cybersecurity from Brown, and I've worked now as an analyst for a boutique analyst firm looking at cybersecurity practices within higher education. And then in March of 2019, my husband and I founded our own company called Battleship, and we are a startup that matches cybersecurity experts with companies for project-based work. Nice. So the core of our platform is looking at how can we democratize cybersecurity resources, really excellent resources that primarily small and medium businesses or other startups wouldn't be able to afford, to help elevate everyone's security. Mm-hmm. And as part of that work is we started talking to a lot of cybersecurity professionals as we started interviewing hiring managers and really finding out what were people struggling with. We realized that there was a huge need in this industry for mentorship. People really wanted help to understand if they were already a cybersecurity professional, how do they advance their career? What is the next step for them? Perhaps they wanted to break into security, either fresh from graduating from college, or they wanted to break in as a mid-career IT professional who was in another field. And there were not a lot of resources to do that. People came to us a lot saying, can you help me? Can you help me find my path? So we recently launched, as an extension of our platform, we launched a mentorship platform as well. So we match cybersecurity professionals who are interested in mentoring with people who are looking for mentorship. So we have people we're helping who are in college, who are looking for their second career in their 60s, as well as people who are CISOs, who are already chief security officers, who are looking for executive mentorship in the space. Okay. And so all my days are filled with cybersecurity people discussions. You know, how do we help make this space welcoming for new people? How do we help people advance? How do we help people succeed? And how do we help businesses understand and do a better job of understanding their own cybersecurity people needs and getting their projects completed? So that's a little bit about me and the work that I do.
Perfect. Good to meet. Good to meet. Sandra or Charlie, the one that will open the microphone before, it will be the one that will speak. Sandra, you open it, so you're the next.
Me?
Yep.
Yes. Hello, thank you for having me. I'm here in Mexico City. I'm a computer systems engineer, and I started moving to cybersecurity around 2 years ago. I have been working for operations and network infrastructure for 8 years before I moved to cybersecurity because I'm a very curious person and I wanted to know more about how to defend companies, organizations, and people and women and children in specifically because here in Mexico, unfortunately, we are always fighting with Thailand for the first place in sexual
And kidnapping.
exploitation. Yes, exactly, and in many other kind of crimes and cyber crimes. And I started becoming more aware of cybercrime and how it affects our society due to some legislation work that I started here as well with a large network of women led by an activist called Olympia. She is making what people know as a revenge porn, what we call broadcast of intimate content without consent, and a recognized crime by the state. So we have worked for many years on that. And this year I was talking more with minors because they have victims of different kinds of cybercrime and have been exploited as well. And there's grooming and so many different techniques and a very difficult context here for women and children. So I decided to use what I have learned about security in a more technical and more organizational way, to use some of what I have learned to protect society, because here, unfortunately, most engineers are working for banks, for large organizations, and the technical skills are very oriented to that, and there's not enough of this kind of profile sharing with people in general or with vulnerable groups. So this year, when it started, I decided that I would create a project called Cyber Ninjas and also Cybercats. So Cyber Ninjas is for
Little kids.
inviting women to learn more about technical skills and not to be so afraid of technicality, so they
God
know.
bless you for it. God bless you for it. Seriously, it's something. It's things that needed in the world, and soon we're
Yes,
going to speak about it also.
yes. I started this project and then Cybercats for minors and also for moms because I work a lot with women. Of course, it's also open for dads or for teachers and anyone interested, promoting parental control software and just to for them to be more aware of everything that goes on online. So right now I'm working for the Mexican Association Against Cybercrime, and we are trying to make vulnerable groups less vulnerable because right now it's way too easy. Everything is way too easy for perpetrators and for this kind of profile to exploit people. So and especially women and children. So I was very angry to know all this, and I decided to take action. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Charlie.
Thank you, Eyal.
How are you?
Very good, very good. Thank
It's
you.
good to host you tonight.
Thank you,
it
thank
is
you.
today for you because
I
Israel
do
is tonight.
appreciate
For
it.
over there, yeah, over there is evening. It's already noon over there.
Actually, yes, I'm in Miami, Florida, so it's about 1 p.m. here. And I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to participate in this amazing
Thank you.
webinar. So I have actually been in cybersecurity for around 11 years. And as Octavia mentioned, when I started in cybersecurity, it was not called cybersecurity, it was actually called information security. And it was all about the antivirus, anti-malware, DLP type of software. And I actually really liked, what we were doing around software-based technology. And I've been moving, towards what today is known cybersecurity. I am actually a U.S. leader volunteer for an organization called WOMC. We are women, Latin women in cybersecurity. So what we do is we mentor and help women around cybersecurity in Latin America and also in the US for Latin women in the US. We help a lot on the college side for the students that are thinking about going into technology and cybersecurity, understand where their opportunities are, what they can do, and match their skills with whatever type of position they would like to be in cybersecurity. I actually have to say that what I like the most about cybersecurity is, and I don't hear a lot of people say this, but I found it to be very sexy and very interesting because of all the conversations you can have around what is happening with threats and threat actors and cyber criminals and hacktivists. And when you're talking a little bit more about, that intelligence, raw information is not intelligence, and how you can get all that information, it tends to be a very sexy conversation and a very interesting
because people think that you're coming with the hood and you're sitting in the airport and now you're trying to hack everything, but you're a regular person, and it's like totally different from what people are seeing, or Shutterstock is showing everyone on the Getty images and stuff like this.
Yes. So it's actually very funny because I also volunteer for a group of youth, young kids at church. And when they ask me what I do and I talk about cybersecurity and everything, they say that I'm a spy and that I'm going all over the world catching bad guys, right? So it's something that I find that has a lot of potential, that a lot of women may not see what they want to do into the cybersecurity industry. I know that a lot of women are thinking about marketing, and they're thinking about operations, and they're thinking about sales. And when you match those words with cybersecurity, they don't see it. They say, well, but you need to have a technical background to go into cybersecurity. And the reality is that it's not a bad thing to have, depending on what you want to do with cybersecurity. But it's not necessarily true that you need a technical background. So it just depends on what you want to do to get into this. I did not study, technically cybersecurity. I studied something completely different. But being in this industry for so long, you start to catch up on the words. You start to catch up on what is required in system base and what is an architecture and how that network looks like. And if you can do that, then you can be successful. And women need to understand that there's a lot of opportunity in this segment.
True. And unfortunately, after it, first of all, thank you very much for introducing and for all of you. And I want to jump already to the round table, and let's pop up the first question. Is the world of cybersecurity, like you said, Charlie, it's like you need the experience to get inside of it, or none?
Well, I would say that if you are thinking in cybersecurity, having a technical background is not 100% necessary, but having information technology background probably would help a lot.
Okay.
So moving from advertising to cybersecurity is going to be a little bit more difficult than if you're selling hardware or working with some type of software technology to move to cybersecurity.
But it's not something like you say, you're going to say, no, this is a barrier that I can't break. It's like, I can't pass it. It's like something that you can do if you don't have any experience at all. Octavia? Because I'm seeing you.
So, yeah, I have a little bit of a different take. Like, I think women are technical, and I think women can be technical because women were the first computers.
True.
Right.
True.
If you actually think about like mathematics and what we do, I think we've really like taken, for whatever reason, we've listened to society and to tell us that we aren't technical or that we're not scientific, when we really are, and that's what we do on a regular basis and when we walk around the house, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that to say, no, you don't have to be technical, but I always tell people when I talk to them, and I was even, talking to someone yesterday, and I said, I never hear men say they're not technical, so why do we continue to do that?
True.
Right? I never, if any of you guys, have you ever heard a man say, I am not technical?
I will tell you why, because people saying all the time, handyman, because you don't hear the thing of handy woman. Okay, it's something that the world was creating. It's the handy man.
You know why we don't have handy women? Because we're tired of doing it, and we just literally will stop doing it and let the man do it. So,
True.
So, but I really think, but in all seriousness, I think that there has to be some type of yearning and curiosity, to Caitlin's point, right? There has to be a curiosity in order to get into cyber. So what I do, I actually try to help people be technical and understand technical things, as well as understand policy and compliance and strategy, right? Because there is a lack of people in general that can understand both spectrums, strategy and technology.
Caitlin?
I would just add that as I talk to a lot of women and men who want to break into security from a lot of different backgrounds. So people who may have actually just gotten a degree in security, to people who might have finished a boot camp, a technical boot camp in security, or even people who have no security background. Maybe they've been a stay-at-home mom. I recently spoke with someone who'd been a stay-at-home mom for the past 6 years and really wanted to re-enter the workforce and had been getting online certifications to do so. So what I see over and over again is that the first step into security is the hardest, and you have to be pretty strategic about how you think about it, because when people do studies about the job openings today, most of the openings are not for entry level. Most openings are for mid and senior level positions. So when we talk about the skills gap in cybersecurity, the gap is really in the more senior positions. And interestingly enough, to Octavia's point, it's not a technical gap. Women can be very technical. A lot of people are very technical. It's those more business skills. Okay. Those strategy skills you're talking about, Octavia, are so hard for hiring managers to find. And I think that that's a great place for women in particular to shine, to be able to show the communication abilities, the strategic abilities, and a curiosity, a continual curiosity to learn and to be coachable. When I talk to hiring managers, one of the things they say so much is that coachability and humility are two of the things they care the most about, because they can teach you how to be technical. They can send you to get a certification or take a training, but teaching someone how to be coachable and teaching them empathy are really, really difficult things to do. That's almost impossible. And those are two places where women can really shine. And the other thing I'll say, especially if you're trying to break in, is that looking at positions in governance, risk, and compliance is a great place to start in security. There are typically more job openings that are more amenable to people who might not have prior security experience. And then also looking for positions that say things like cybersecurity analyst or even a level 1 SOC analyst position are positions that we see people breaking into with more and more success.
Nice. Sandra, same question?
Yes, well, here we follow, or we try to describe the nice framework in order to understand different roles that are available in case that women would like to explore this. We know that this is a framework that helps us with explaining 7 different categories for cybersecurity functions, 33 specialty areas, and 52 work roles that can be extremely technical or not so technical and more oriented to other kind of dynamics. So I find that this nice framework is a very good starting point when I share with women or younger women about this universe, because it's such a big landscape that we can kind of understand it a bit better when there is some organization of different roles and there are different categories that we already have described by NIST. And I agree I agree with you in that it would be better if there's some IT basic understanding, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I also agree that we as women already solve a million different problems in our daily lives,
True.
and it's sometimes about stereotypes and the prejudices. Here in Mexico. We have that weight on our shoulders as women from the day number one. So it's true that stereotypes can sometimes make us think as women or make us think about women as if they are not um, computer science oriented. And we have to understand that is a stereotype, that is a prejudice, because of course there's a lot of talent there that is going without any kind of support, right? Or things like families deciding to pay for the brother's education and not the sister's education, and all this kind of dynamic that happens so often here in Mexico and Latin America and many countries still. So it's true that if we have some kind of understanding or curiosity about IT, that would be of benefit. And it's also true that we have a lot of stereotypes as society that these young women carry. And we as role models and as people who are interested in a better society and see how much is lost in terms of talent and possibilities
I want
and
to take it
new
also to
dynamics, we have responsibility. Mm-hmm.
I want to take it
Sorry.
also to,
Mm-hmm.
so sorry, it's also the same thing about what you're saying, and I want to take it further about the stereotypes. Because I think, first of all, when a woman is coming to interview, and I want to take it also to the area of Latin America. So Sandra and Charlie, first you, and then Octavia and Caitlin. I think it's like, first of all, when a woman is coming, it's correct me if I'm wrong, but when a woman is coming to an interview, okay, first of all, coming the person that is standing next to her, making the interview, is like thinking, first of all, it's a man world. And what we're going to do today is to change this thinking and to break some stereotypes. But as a woman, you seeing this first of all happening, especially in Latin America, if it's happening more than other places in the world, and how to break these stereotypes? Any tips that you can give to the audience today?
So what I can add to that is, so 24% of women worldwide represents cybersecurity industry today. And in Latin America, it's 11%. So only 11% of women are actually active into a cybersecurity career. And it does have a lot to do with being in a man's world. Now, Latin America is very big and broad. And you have, from Brazil all the way to Mexico, different countries have very different cultures, and they act very differently. When we talk about Colombia and Mexico, for example, which is one of the regions that I have the most experience in, they are completely different. They're completely different, but they're similar onto when you talk about what women's role represent into the professional world and men. Right. So women are there to sit down, to listen, and to write notes. And the reality is that today, like in 2020, it's a little bit less, because women, we have shown up, we have shown and proved that we can do a man's work better, because we can time manage better. We can do a lot more and focus in different areas and different things, and actually be a psychologist and a mentor, and look at the little tiny details about things a lot better than men can. And that's the reality. And one of the things that we're seeing is that a lot more women are being pointed to bigger positions, right? They are actually starting to have more women directors and more women VPs and senior VPs and EVPs into the technology market. And that is actually helping a lot of other women to kind of look at the possibility of starting in cybersecurity a lot more than it was 5 years ago. One of the programs that we run into WOMC is what we call Careers in Cybersecurity, where we are hosting women that are in cybersecurity in different positions. And we're talking analysts, we're talking ethical hackers, we're talking global cybersecurity managers and directors and EVPs. And they talk about their journey, what it took, like what did they have to do to get to where they are, and why women can do it all. And the reality is that we can. There's absolutely nothing we cannot do. I mean, we were created to create.
True.
Starting from creating life, and then everything else is easier. So in Latin America, we still have a lot to work to do, but I think we're getting there. I think we are advancing a lot more today.
During the time that we were speaking, a person from Israel Bruria was sending us why there is no Israel representation. So I want to say something. Was supposed to be one of my friends named Esti Peshin. She's the VP of ELTA. It's one of the biggest companies in Israel for cybersecurity. She's awesome, but unfortunately today she couldn't make it. So this is the thing why we don't have Israeli representation, but we have other awesome women that join us, and it's good to have you. And I want to say something that I'm thinking, and again, we will go to Octavia and Caitlin. I think that the barrier is coming from the place that people think, like the first computer was invented by women, okay, in 1947. But the thing is like this, the people was thinking that after Second World War, the men's came back from the war, and now this is the man's world, and we need in 2020 to break this thing. Octavia, what are you thinking about it?
So, I mean, it's different culturally, right? I can say in the United States, cybersecurity holistically was something that was government run, right, for a very long time. And so it was government run. It was typically those who were cybersecurity professionals were coming directly out of the military. Now, only recently were women seen as equal in the military. And there's still a lot of issues there with women in military culture, and that's just a whole nother situation, right? But the numbers of men versus women who are going into the military, just normal, just enlisted, are vastly different when it comes to gender, right? And then those who were actually doing intelligence was a lot different as well. So it was seen as something that was government, military run. And so coming into the private sector, they were initially looking for those people who were military trained. And those people who were military trained happened to be men, right? But there were also women who were also military trained. And there's also women who, to Charlie's point, could really get in there and do the work, right? And I think this is, it's kind of the same thing that I talk about racism. It was 400 years in the making. You're not going to break it in a week, right?
But it's a step.
But it is a step, and I think we are making progressive steps. I'm going to tell you, in the last 3 years, I have seen so many more women being vocal and out there and saying we are here than I have seen my entire career, right? And I could say LinkedIn has helped that. Social media has helped that. But then you also have more women like myself and Charlie and Kaylin and Sandra, who's also come and said, hey, we're going to help you. Not only are we here, but we're going to lean back and we're going to help you. We're going to actually kick the door open. And we are actually saying, you have to go help someone else. Sure. Like this is not just enough for you to kind of lean on my coattail. I've actually told people that I wouldn't mentor them because they were selfish. Right? If you're not willing to go and
exactly and help others, it's not going to pass. Exactly.
I can't help you.
Exactly.
Right? And so I think that's the difference, right? And I think to have more women and more men. I mean, my mentor is a man who is gung-ho about getting more women into cybersecurity, gung-ho about getting women into CISO positions. And he will literally, he's looked at my resume, looked at my friends' resumes, anyone who you passed on. So I think it takes more of people like that.
True.
To really change what we're dealing with in this industry.
We can take me as an example. When I was thinking about this is the option, and this is, I think, the opportunity to bring more people, more women, especially for the cybersecurity field. So this webinar was coming as a boom. So I think we need more like this, and that's why we're going to have more webinars like this. This is the first in the series, so it's good. Caitlin.
I don't have a lot to add. I think everybody covered a lot of
So let's take you to the next question. What are the reasons to join the cybersecurity field? To everyone, not just for women. And then let's take it to a woman.
I would like to answer that.
Go for it.
Why? Because as long as women are users and not designers or creators, our needs will be ignored. And that is the summary of that is my summary of an answer. We cannot really expect for this area in technology or anything in relation to technology to cover our needs or to speak for us if it's mostly men, because we are not in the same arena. We do not have the same needs. We do not have the same priorities for different political and biological and social reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that we need women in cyber or in technology for parity or for some kind of data. Like, it's for the improvement of our human condition for the in all levels. If there's no equal representation, we are only going to have a partial view, and we are not going to be able to solve many of the issues that we have if we are trusting that someone else is going to have that in mind, right? It has to be us to in the same conditions or in the same arena, so we can promote change, and we can bring solutions, and we can design different tools. For instance, in my case, worried about cybersecurity, I'm like, okay, if I'm creating this kind of program, it's because I thought about it, and there's many other experts in cyber who know way more than I do, but they are not thinking in a social way. And there's a sexual component there, a sex-based component there, because women tend to think a bit more about the community. I mean, for evolution purposes and like for many reasons. But I see that there's a lot of general benefit to be had when women are thinking more in a designer, in a creation, in a more complete way, other than just being users and expecting others to think about our needs, because we have to be there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And also we have to consider our context according to the World Economic Forum. In the Global Gender Gap Report 2018, they said that it will take 202 years for the world to bring about parity in the workplace, and also 108 years to close the overall gender gap. So we are not there yet, and it's not going to happen magically. All we can do is to try to bring that forth, right? Or to make it less years, right? Because right now we are we are in this reality. I would like for us to be like in a much different world. That's not true right now. But if we are not here in this world as well of creation, then it's going to be very, very tough still, because we have to be here in the game as well.
Exactly. Thank you. So let's take it to the next level, as you said before at the beginning, Sandra, in the brief, and we spoke about the thing of the challenges that the challenges in total for cybersecurity, ransoms, and etc. And I want, first of all, before we're going to speak about ransoms and stuff like this, I want to ask about the challenges that women's, okay, for example, let's take it as the thing, you need to deal more than a man in the work field. Because if, for example, and I'm seeing Caitlin is like waiting for it, and I'm going to bring it on. The thing is like this. Usually in a regular day, work is hard. Okay, the environment over there is hard. But I want to see, as a perspective of women that working in this field, what is more hard for you? Where is the places that you think it's hard, and how to deal with? So I think this is going to be a tips also for women that going to get inside the industry, how to deal with it. The same question, by the way, for all of you. Caitlin?
I'm thinking. So I have an interesting perspective.
You need to think quick. I just gave you.
Oh, what?
I'm sorry. I just gave you the recommendation that I was giving you the thing that you're thinking fast, and then you're saying, no, I need to think. It's not good.
I know, I need to think. I know. I'm sorry. Sometimes that happens. So the interesting thing is, I have never actually been like a hands-on cybersecurity practitioner myself. Mm-hmm. I've advised organizations on security strategy. I've worked, looking at the market in security. I talked to a lot of security practitioners. So I can give you my viewpoint from kind of gathering lots of different data points from a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that we see, if we're talking about women in particular in this space, one of the things that I hear a lot from women is that there can be intense gatekeeping in security. And there can be some pretty significant problems in terms of, if we look at like the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, that can really impact women as well. So I recently interviewed someone who's a director of cybersecurity at about a 200-person technology company. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about how, she got hired one time on a security team, and they basically said they'd hired her because she was a woman, right? Like, it was an all-male team, it was about 10 men. And they basically told her, she asked, why did you hire me? Thinking it was because she had some skill set. And they said, well, we needed a woman. and there can be some things like this that you hear these stories over and over again, right? That women's technical expertise is discounted, that women aren't really brought into the fold, that they deal with some intense pressures to outperform their colleagues, that there can even be, the same lady I was speaking with was saying that there were things happening in the workplace where she had to present very feminine to be considered for a promotion. Like the all-male executive team wasn't even really considering her for promotion until she started wearing short skirts and lipstick. I mean, so there's some really interesting dynamics, I think, that still happen in the workplace that are really unfortunate. I mean, and it depends on where you are, where you've been hired, but there's some cultural aspects to the security space that I think can be difficult for women. Most of all, that's what I hear. That's those kinds of stories I hear most often, at least. But I'd love to hear from the rest of the group. The kinds of
I see Octavia is enjoying the moment. It's like,
yeah. I saw her face, and I just had to start.
She's enjoying it.
I realized that, I was on camera when she said that, and my entire face dropped, and I was like, okay, wow.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm a little different. I am, when I initially started, so I started in cybersecurity when I was 22, right? I'm right out of college. And I went to an all-women school, a historically Black college. And I was the person in the data center wearing stilettos and skirts. Not because anyone wanted me to wear stilettos and skirts, but I just happened to think stilettos and skirts are cute. And I don't need any man to tell me that they're cute, or I don't need any man to tell me that I'm cute, because I got that myself. Like, I can look in the mirror and I can tell that. Like, I don't need you to tell me that. So it's interesting from that perspective, but I do hear stories, right? I think that the hardest part is when you're trying to move up in the industry, for those gatekeepers who do have tendencies to be predators, right? Mm-hmm. Or who are, you know, I think we're weeding out a lot of leaders. The Me Too movement have weeded out a lot of leaders who have those tendencies to be predators. However, you still see men who are not predators still a little scared to engage with women, right? Because of things that they've heard in the past or things that have happened to their friends. And so when it comes to leadership, that becomes a little bit of a barrier that I think just needs to be a hard conversation. And I think that we can't be afraid to have those conversations. I am a type of person that I will literally tell. I remember getting up in the panel pre-COVID, of course. I was on a panel and I told a room full of men, if you have a woman on your team who is trying to talk to you or want to have lunch with you, it's not because she's trying to date you. She literally may just be trying to talk to you, just like you talk to her male counterparts and have lunch with them. And their male counterparts were able to get a promotion because they had lunch. And she is also trying to get a lunch date with you.
Exactly.
But she's not trying to date you or to trap you. And I think that's something that is a little hard.
So how you can pass this barrier, for example?
I think a real conversation and allies, right? I think that we have to have people who are of the, you know, the opposite gender to be allies for us, right? We need to be able to be confiding people and talk to them about, you know, hey, I want to do this. How do you think I navigate? And it goes back to how do you break into the industry as well.
Exactly.
This is one of the industries that people and human relationship is extremely important, because if you don't have a network, if you don't have friends, if you don't have people who will pull you up and call your name, you're not going to get in. Mm-hmm. It's going to be extremely hard, and it's easier when you actually know someone who can actually vouch for you or who's willing to give you a chance. So I was thinking overall, I think that's one of the barriers. It's a barrier to get in because you don't know people. I think you need allies to get in, you need allies to get up.
So how you can bury this barrier, for example, like you always need somebody because you don't have experience. So a person without experience will never get inside the industry, kind of.
Maybe.
So I think that has changed a little bit. And Octavia was mentioning the Me Too movement. And I do believe that things have changed too. And I can only talk about my experience, obviously, mm-hmm. but what I've seen happening throughout the years is that back when in the days when I started, when I became a professional, women did not empower other women. Women were competing against women. And we were trying to show up and make sure that our job was noticed, working really hard in the men's world. And we had other women not helping in our development, but putting us down and gossiping and saying things that it just didn't help at all. Today, everything has changed. And today I can clearly say women understand the power that we have if we stick together, if we come together, and if we help each other, and that we are not going to take the opportunity out of somebody else's by giving that other person the spotlight and mm-hmm. getting them to where they need to be. Because if you work hard and you know what you know, your job is not going to be in jeopardy anymore. But what you can do is help other women get to the positions they want to be. Even if you don't advance, even if you stay where you are, mm-hmm. if you see that there's another woman that has the possibility of getting to that next extra step and being successful. I think as a woman, for me, I pride myself to say, look at her, where she is today and how successful she is. Because she represents me, she represents my gender, she represents my generation, right? So I actually have experience working in Latin America, like inside the country of Latin America and in the US as a Latin woman. And one of the things that I find more interesting today is that I still see that I've been actually with the, with COVID and everything that happened, I was laid off of my job and I've been looking for a job. And constantly the question that they ask me, number one question is, how are you going to be able to handle working from home and your family? Or they ask me questions like, would you have a problem traveling? Would that be a problem? But see, I've seen my husband interviewing for jobs and I've never heard him asking him that question.
Exactly.
So the barrier is still there. There's still a lot of I would say not difficulties, but it's like for women having to come up with this perfect image of, I have to look like I am Superwoman so I could get a job. It still exists. It's still today. I mean, I've had more than 100 interviews and they ask me questions that only they will ask women. They will not ask a man.
So it's funny, anytime they ask me those type of questions, or someone asks me like, how do you do it all? And you have 2 kids and you have a husband. I was like, my husband takes care of those kids. What are you talking about?
Awesome.
Funny
You're
enough,
awesome.
That's exactly what I say. It's like, well, my husband is the one that cooks and takes the kids to school. So
and they're like, who's gonna make dinner? I was like, whatever that dude up there cook. I don't know. Like, maybe we may have like a Uber night. I don't know. But
exactly. Yeah. So it's but I do think that today women are more, they can be more successful because of other women and men. I mean, I do see that, like you and a lot of other men in my network, at least, they are promoting women and they want to push them. And in WOMC, we have a He for She, is a mentoring program for men that have been in the industry for a lot more time. They're mentoring younger women to understand, what they need to know and what are the opportunities to grow in cybersecurity. So there's still a lot of difficulties, but we are getting there. Like Octavia said, it's not going to change from today to tomorrow, but it will change. It is changing and it will get better.
With God will, it will be happening as soon as possible. I hope before Corona. And the COVID will be over, so this will be over before it. A question. Let's see. Oh, ransoms. Who dealing better with ransom, man or woman? I'm sure this guy is a man that's asking it. So seriously, who is dealing the better with, because in cybersecurity, for example, we have all kind of events. One of them is the ransoms. Last week in Israel, I'm taking it just as an example, a company in Israel was being they asking them ransom. Right now, they are not going to give anything, but we don't know what's going to happen. In this kind of case, all the 4 of you, if you were the guy that was the girl that was responsible for this case, what you were doing?
Well, I wouldn't pay.
Why?
Because today the ransomware has also evolved. Before it was about ransom your data and you pay and I give you your data back. If you didn't have a good backup system, then you really needed to pay. But it would be more of a transaction of, okay, you pay me, I give you your data back, exactly. Let's move on. Today, especially with everything that is happening, geopolitically speaking, and nation states, now they're not only ransoming your data, they're actually selling it into the black market, into with cyber actors, and it's not as easy as I pay, I'm going to get my data back and that's it, I move on. No, they're going to sell your data. They're going to give your data, and it's going to be available for further actions, along the way, because then they have information about the CEO, the CIO, or a VP that is going to be compromised. And then they're not only going to be ransoming your data, now they're going to be extorting you. So it's a difficult decision, but at least in the company that I used to work for, we say, don't pay, because that is not going to resolve your problem. Your problem now is try not to get ransomed by being protected and, getting before that happens, and doing the job that you need to do to protect yourself.
It's like the joke that people, sorry, go for it. After I will say the joke.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, like, this case is very interesting because you don't know what happened before the ransomware.
True.
Right? You don't know how they got ransomed. You don't know what actually happened. And I think, Charlie, to your point, like a good security awareness program would have probably prevented, or not even prevented, mitigated the risk of that happening. However, we don't know. There's like a lot of things we don't know. And in this particular case, they were already leaking their data. So why would I pay you if my data is already out?
Exactly. That's the thing. And that's what I wanted to ask. It's like, if we're going to take an event like this, okay, as a woman, I think as a man, the first thing that we're thinking, and I'm coming from the military side, it's first of all, shoot on everything and then think. And I want to ask if it's like from the woman's side, if it's going to happen the same thing. Because it's like what I'm seeing from you and for Charlie was saying, it's you're thinking first more reasonably and then you're shooting, and it's good. Because I'm seeing the male side is like I said, it's shooting. First shooting, then let's think.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, I would have called the FBI. So that's my first shot. So if that's what you call a shoot, like I'm picking up the phone and the FBI will be called immediately.
No,
right?
the shooting is first of all, it's like first let's knock them down and then let's think how to fix everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I have friends that have been ransomware. That's so when you initially said this, I was like, I have friends, right? I have friends that led organizations that have been ransomed, and it's one of the situations where it's a depend, right? It really depends on the data, what they're ransom, what they have. In some cases, it's not even worth it to pay, right? In some cases, if you had a good program and good backups, and if you had good encryption and decryptors, if you had everything secured, then it's kind of like or the data's not really living on the system, right? So they could ransom whatever they want, and I don't care. Like enjoy, have fun with that emptiness that's gonna take you, maybe 100 years to actually crack. Like it's good. Go ahead. But it just really depends on the situation, whether or not, and I don't think it's a woman or a man thing. I really think it's do you know what you're doing?
Okay.
Like, do you know how to properly secure? Do you have a good security awareness program? Do you know how to back up your data and where to store it offsite? Like, do you have all those mitigation steps in place? And I think anyone who knew for a fact, I think the people who don't know that they have a good system in place, those are the ones who shoot first because they don't know. The ones who know, they're calm. Yeah,
exactly.
They just put the process in place.
Caitlin?
And it's like what I mentioned earlier, raw information is not intelligence. So you need to also understand like what type of information are they ransoming? Like Tavia mentioned, it's a matter of understanding what you have, how protected it is. And also, I think one of the things that I noticed is how much money are they asking for? And why is this important to know? Because if they're not asking a lot of money at the beginning, they will go, if you pay, they will go and ransom you again. And they will ask for more money. Nice. And they will start continuing to increase. And then they're going, and what they're going to notice is that they're going to go after companies like yours, companies like the one that I just hacked and they paid, I'm going to go to the next one because they're going to pay too, because they're smaller. Maybe, you know, they don't think that $500, $1,000 is a lot. They're going to pay it. But that's just opening the door. It's like cheating. You know, you cheat once,
Sure.
you cheat all the time.
Always.
If you pay them, they're going to attack you again. And it's better to actually invest the money into a very good program of cybersecurity awareness, investigation. You know, what I call the curve of maturity on cybersecurity is not only getting to the responding and investigation, but the hunting. You know, go invest in having a program where you can actually become a hunter and look at the possibilities of what could happen in the future and work on having the right infrastructure in place so you can be prepared for those type of attacks.
Caitlin, you're quiet.
Oh, I had thoughts, but people covered a lot of them. I was going to say, I don't really think there's a big difference between men and women here. I also think that the biggest difference is how well do you know your environment? Right. I was speaking with a CIO who had spent many years as a CISO and talked about the fact that the more technical you are as a leader, the more comfortable you tend to be when these kinds of situations occur. So, you know, the more technically in depth you understand your whole environment and, you know, your team and what's going on, even if something like this happens, you know where you have yourself and your systems and your data, even in the moment of the ransomware. So where we tend to see these things going off the rails is for people that haven't segmented their networks, don't have a data recovery plan in place. You know, they don't have any cybersecurity insurance, right? Cyber insurance. They're starting from zero, and they could be in a really, really bad situation. So in the United States, we recently, I think a couple months ago, saw a major health system, basically a national health system ransomware, and pretty much like every single hospital's computer systems were ransomware. I mean, they were all encrypted, their servers, their workstations, everything, nothing worked. Wow. And this was a really big problem for them. I mean, at that point, if they don't have good data recovery in place, I mean, literally people were dying. They couldn't do operations. People couldn't get their medications. And this is where we see people saying, okay, I have to pay, whether you're a man or a woman, right? I have to, this situation has to be fixed. It has to be fixed right now. So now that's all I really have to add, that I feel like what you need is a cool head at the helm. Sometimes maybe women have cooler heads. I don't know, but that's
what I thought.
The biggest differentiator.
Sandra, we can take it also to your area. It's Mexico. I think it's the place that live the ransoms in all around, also in cybersecurity and in the field itself.
Unfortunately, but something that is an advantage for me or for us at the association that I work for is that the president and most of the team has been working for different police departments. So we actually have experts on anti-kidnapping, workforces and special forces, and well, anyone who wants to mess with us knows that they are probably going having a tough time. So we have that human factor to our advantage as well, because we are not like a small NGO without expertise, right? It's actually the cyber police and different government units that look for the investigators here because they have a lot of experience and there's a lot of knowledge here. So in that sense, I do not worry that much about ransomware. But at least in that sense, on the other hand, of course, one of the main ideas is to know exactly what has to be stored and for what reason, right? Because that's like the first part, right? Like having something valuable. And if we don't, or if we just have it at certain times and destroy it, and I mean, we can like see it in a different way instead of being like a static. Um, yeah, instead of having like a place where all this really important information is stored, we play like a different kind of game also because we're a small NGO, right? Like not everyone is able to do this kind of thing. So for us, it's not so much of a worry. But yes, everything that has been said, it's not only about dealing with the emergency and also knowing your own limits, because in this case that you mentioned, they have not called the cyber terrorist experts, right? So it's also a matter of being humble. And I think that women are a bit better with being humble than some men who really think they know everything, and they have to accept that there's situations like this, and if they don't have the training, it's better to look for someone. And also, of course, use it as a learning experience and see what happened, because we do not know. They will need to run a professional service to know what happened and why they were so vulnerable and try to make it better for so next time doesn't happen. And also see how to compensate all the victims, right? Actually, I was a victim of of some data leak when I stayed at a hotel, and then that hotel was part of a major chain, and then that was attacked. And well, they gave me some information, I mean, some access to a web page where I could put like my some personal information to see if that was going around the deep web and some dark places, and to be aware of my own information. So what they gave was access to a professional service to know if my data was going around certain delicate places. So I was like, what? I mean, they were trying to compensate a bit for that data leak. So I think that they should also think about
Charlie,
their customers or their.
I think the kids that you're training right now, Charlie, they can speak with Sandra because she's kind of a spy. She went to a hotel and then she found out the leak. So, so I think something good was happening today. Question. Oh, Rega, sorry. Rega, it's in Hebrew. So it's a question in Hebrew. I'm translating to English. I have no experience at all, and I want to get inside the cyber field. What should I do?
Talk to someone. You have to make connections. You have to talk to people. Pretty much everyone within the cyber industry knows each other. It's kind of like if I don't know you directly, I know someone who knows you. And so you have to reach out. You have to talk to people. And you have to let them know your desires, and what where you want to go, where you want to start, and where you ultimately want to be, because that's the only way that someone who is brand new to the field, that's the only way we can help. Or if you don't talk to somebody, you're going to end up settling for a position that you're going to be miserable in.
But there is a place for people with no experience? That's the main question. Yeah, yeah.
There is.
Good.
Yeah,
there is.
Good. So yes, I will start saying leverage LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn right now it's kind of like the place to exploit, because you can get into contact with people you could never even imagine getting in contact before. I would say, so one of the things that I also do is I train people on personal brand. So I would say, start building your personal brand around what are your interests and what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Start following companies around cybersecurity and technology. Start following people that are in the industry, that have experience. Connect with them through message once they accept your invitation. And start asking questions. There are also organizations like, Women for Cybersecurity. There's one in the US, in Mexico, and Caitlin, I'm sorry, that she has, she advises other companies. She could put that person in contact with another company and get into the process of internships, maybe. That also would help a lot of people. And I would say start looking into getting certifications. I mean, certifications are available online today. I'm going to take the CISP I'm looking into doing it because I think that's the next step for me, is getting that certification. So, I mean, it's a matter of putting your ideas together and say, okay, where do I want to be? What exactly do I want to do in cybersecurity? And start connecting through companies, people, certifications, and things like that.
Perfect.
Yeah, I
put this in the chat too. I would encourage you to find a mentor. So, one of the things we've done is build a coalition of mentors on our platform. We have Israeli mentors, and we provide a way to collaborate virtually on micro goals. And so whenever, when you're trying to break into security, you need to have a plan. You need to think about it, here's what my goals are, and here are the many steps, the small steps I can take to start meeting those goals incrementally so that I can get that first job. And for everyone, that might look a little bit different. It's dependent on where you are in your career, where you want to go in your career. But if you can find a mentor who can help you understand what the steps need to be for your specific goals, and then hold you accountable to meeting them, that can make all the difference in the world. And so we've tried to programatize this at Battleship, but you can try to find a mentor on LinkedIn. Sometimes people are looking for mentors even on Twitter. But that's my biggest advice. Is
Twitter is a new thing. I never knew that there is mentors on Twitter. That's good. Yeah. No.
You can. It can be hard for people to actually make sure that they're finding the time to meet and like doing it in a way that's really structured. Part of the reason why we started a structured mentorship program. But you can. There's a lot of people who are willing to help, and that's my biggest advice. And we're over. I have to drop to go to another meeting, but I've really enjoyed being with everyone today. Thank you so much for including
me. We're soon
me.
finishing, by the way. So thank you very much, Caitlin, for today.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Goodbye.
Octavia, wanted to add something.
Yeah, I would say I am one of those people, when you're initially coming into the industry, it's more important for you to talk to someone and have someone, have a mentor, have someone who you consider someone that you look up to before you go get the certifications. I am not a certification junkie, even though I have 6 certifications. I'm not a certification junkie. And I think that people get their feelings hurt in this industry by going in for certifications in master's programs first. And what I would say is, to Caitlin's point, find that path first, right? Sandra brought up, there's a NIST that actually talked about all the frameworks and the different roles in cybersecurity. Look at that, and based on that, get your certification on that. When I initially started, my manager made me get certifications. I hide about 3 of my certifications right now because I don't want people to call me to work in those areas. Right. So I think it's very important to be thoughtful and about what you want your career to go be in before you start down the certification journey. Because there may be, in some cases, that certification may be too technical for what you want, or that certification may not be technical enough for what you desire. So we have to do a little bit of research on that.
Thanks. Sandra, something to add, or we can skip to the next question?
Yes, the importance of talking to someone and of having even a network, or even just one person there so they can share the landscape. As Octavia says, it's such a huge universe that we need to kind of know where it might be better for us to be. Doesn't mean that it can change, but yes, we need to have some panoramic view, and sometimes when we are starting, we don't. So it's better if you can talk to someone who can give you some tips. I know it's difficult sometimes. Actually, I feel that way still, even if I already have some, a journey here, but it's true. So we do not lose time, because we can become experts in so many areas. And the more that you know yourself, particularly, there's also this psychology, right? There's I would like, actually that's part of the plans for all cyber ninjas to be able to see, to test, right? To have someone make a test and see more or less where they would fit in terms of cybersecurity. That would be a great idea. I don't know if there are efforts like that elsewhere, but to have this kind of coaching so others do not lose that much time and also know themselves. Because I think sometimes Netflix and movies and everyone thinks that cyber is such a cool.
Exactly, and also they showing that women hate the other women, so it's like a battleship over there.
No,
Exactly, Octavio. What you done, it's the exact thing. It's like we trying to change something and then come in all the industry of the television and the media and trying to ruin everything.
yes, yes, don't look at that. Well, now that the actual world is very different and it's long hours and it can be stressful and you need to be super curious and it's not as easy as sometimes it's shown in Netflix. And because sometimes I talk to women with ideas of things being very easy or they want to crack a password and things like that. And now we are talking about a longer term commitment. So don't look at those movies and think that is how it is. We are talking more about long hours and effort, and then being women going against the tide and having tough moments because yes, we are trying to change this, but it's a lonely path sometimes. For me as a Mexican, at least, I'm like, well, I'm the only woman or have been the only woman in most of my professional or study environments, even in 2020. So now that it can be a bit lonely, but also if you love the science field, if you are really into tech, if it's something that you desire, like also don't wait for everything to be perfect to start, right? Or
Sure.
even you're not going to be like hired maybe right away. You can start your own thing or do some other kind of internship in or in NGOs, for instance. Like there's different ways. If you want to, if you're interested, don't let the environment or the lack of better conditions stop you, right? There's always ways, of course.
There is a question about, do I need a degree or a boot camp will be enough for me? I think a boot camp is also good. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Octavia?
I
You're
think
kind
it,
of on it. You're kind
I
of.
think it, yeah, I think it depends. It depends on the goals, right?
To
So,
enter the field, this is what she or he it's
but
much going.
it depends, right? If you there are different roles. So the cyber is a massive, just like when it used to, so you think about, 15 years ago, people said, I work in IT. It's like, what does that mean? Right? Like
Sure.
anybody who come into you tell you work in IT, if you can't qualify what you do, then I think that you're help desk. So if you want to be a help desk person, then no, you don't need a degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to stay a help desk person or that lower level, you may not need a degree. But if you are trying to really ascend, you may be able to ascend to a certain level, but I think I don't think we've evolved. I don't think the industry has evolved enough to have someone that doesn't have a higher level education at a leadership level yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it really depends on your career goals. Do you need a degree to get started?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Do you need a degree to, maybe go into GRC? Yeah. Do you need like it just depends
Yeah,
on where you're
it's like
trying to enter, right?
okay.
And are you just trying to get a job or are you really trying to have a career?
So
I
like
just think
entry levels, it's the bootcamp will be enough for them.
Yeah.
in certain entry levels, yes.
I do agree. I agree and disagree with Octavia a little bit because I know people that have gone to VP positions that have no degrees, and they're very successful because they actually had it. They had it,
Mm-hmm.
and when you had it, it doesn't matter. Another thing that I've noticed is that a lot of companies today, comparing to in the past, they're not necessarily requiring even for senior positions, a degree. They just want either the degree or X amount of years of experience in that industry.
The
And
hands-on
I
experience
think
is more important.
exactly. So I think, I mean, it is okay to think if you don't have a degree, you know, until what position you can actually climb to, because you need to have that education base in order for you to maybe make the most educated decisions and think strategically and understand what a P&L is and understand what management styles are and different things, right? I do think education is very important, and my kids, they need to go to college, all of them. But I do believe, coming from a generation that my sisters and I didn't go to college or finish college, and have actually had to take courses and different degrees and different studies and certifications, and having the experience to actually grow to director positions. I mean, you just have to work really hard, and maybe a lot harder than somebody that has a degree. But I necessarily don't think that if you want to climb up in the world, you need, you really need a degree. I think there are people that don't need it. But if you can, then do it. If you have the means and you have the opportunity, you won't lose anything by having a career. So just do it.
Thanks. So last thing and good. We are soon finishing. One tip, if you can give only one tip, what will be your best tip? Good question. It's a hard one. It's like to choose one thing that you will give as an advice.
I have one. It's a very hard question. My advice would be know yourself. Know yourself. So you know where you are going, and you know how to choose in a complex world, right? It's very easy to say know yourself, but when you do, decisions are a bit easier, and feedback or lack of feedback or the outside environment doesn't weigh that much when you know yourself, right? Because I've been very discouraged even when I was very young and I was winning all the medals and I was a really geeky girl. Even when I was so young, even remembering that and all my journey, I have been discouraged many times and been told that maybe I shouldn't be in the IT world. And it doesn't matter if you're not so smart or very smart, or if you solve a lot of problems, if you don't solve them, like it doesn't matter. When you're a woman, there's this complexity added and a difficult context, right? So it's not about you, it's also about the construction.
Sandra, I want to jump for something and then go back. A person that had no connection before to the field, and it's for all of you, by the way, the question, had no experience, had no connection to the field before. Can he work in the cybersecurity field? For your opinion, by the way, of course.
Yes, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Because it's this curiosity. The number one item I would say that is needed, knowing yourself and knowing if you are curious, a curious person, because we want to know answers and we want to solve issues and we want to know why. And that is something that is very important for everyone in cybersecurity, right? That we are not going to be satisfied with any superficial kind of dynamic. We in science want to know more and know deeper and solve and mitigate and analyze different complex scenarios. And we think in that way. So even if someone doesn't have this background yet, I would say, yes, it's possible. And you don't know until you try, or at least see how it is like. Maybe later you can say, no, this was not for me. But don't like deny yourself the chance to knock on that door first. And also it's a universe. As you have seen, there are so many different, there are 52 different roles. maybe starting out, you notice this role is not for me, but this other one looks like it might be for me, right? So don't deny yourself the opportunity, much less if you are a woman or a young woman looking for choices. Like don't like try to get on the door, and then you will have more information. If you stay, great. If you don't, at least you know that something was not for you, and that is okay.
Nice. Octavia, for you.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, a person coming in, like any background is something that can get into cyber. But I think my advice is kind of it piggybacks on Sandra's, like, never tell yourself no. There's so many people that tell women no, even unintentionally, even sometimes for our, like, they think they're doing well, they think they're protecting us, and they say no, and they tell us no. But if we don't tell ourselves no, then we can accomplish anything. And so that would be my advice, to never tell yourself no.
Nice. Charlie?
I actually have to piggyback on Sandra and Octavia. I was thinking of a word, and it's called persistence. I mean, you have to be persistent. You have to never give up. If you really want something, go after it. It's okay to leap with your eyes closed. Sometimes that leap, it takes you to wonderful places. So and I don't believe that you need a background or you can't come into cybersecurity. I came into cybersecurity. It was information security at the time, but I didn't know anything about it. And I studied something completely outside the scope of technology. And so if we think about it, if you want it, go get it. Just do it. Just take the chance, and you'll see.
So out for the finish, I will say something. I'm taking from you, Charlie, something that you have in the back. With God, everything is possible. So this is true, and believe. My tip is believe. Don't give up on your dreams. Dreams eventually becoming true. Sometimes it's look like a nightmare, but it's becoming a good dream eventually. I want to thank all of you. Seriously, it was pleasant time. It's a wonderful, and I hope that in the next webinar I will see you again. And thank everyone for joining us. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye. See you.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a great
you.
one, and happy holidays.
Thank you for you too. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.